Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Tonight, on the very day Donald Trump gives his acceptance speech to be the party's presidential candidate, the abuse and unfortunate language that he's heaped upon his opponents during the campaign has been visited upon him with a bit of a vengeance. The man he finally defeated, Senator Ted Cruz of Texas, says he's refusing to be Trump's servile puppy dog and that he will not endorse him. Instead, he's castigated him for alleging that Cruz's father was involved in the assassination of JFK and for suggesting that his own wife is ugly, a divided party in a divided country. Our Washington correspondent, Kylie Morris, has this.
It was never going to be a kumbaya moment. After all, Donald Trump had trolled like a teenager Heidi Cruz with an unflattering comparison to his wife and slandered the father of Ted Cruz in the last days of their primary campaign. Here's a reminder of the moment when Trump, on one of his regular dial-ins to Fox, accused Cruz's father of hanging out with the assassin of John F. Kennedy.
And, you know, his father was with Lee Harvey Oswald prior to his being shot, and nobody talks about it. But I think it's horrible. I think it's absolutely horrible.
Still, when the senator from Texas began to speak, it appeared the wounds had healed.
I want to congratulate Donald Trump on winning the nomination last night.
But after that, there was no more Mr. Nice Guy. Rather than endorsing Trump, the senator suggested Republicans vote for whoever they want.
Stand and speak and vote your conscience. Vote for candidates up and down the ticket who you trust to defend our freedom and to be faithful to the Constitution.
You can hear the chorus, endorse Trump, endorse Trump. Chris Christie looks ready to crush him like a bug. Cruz tries to finish, but who's that emerging in the gods? The nominee himself, stealing the scene back while his henchmen down below go to work.
I just think it was an awful performance by someone who showed himself tonight to not be a man of his words.
He cannot be trusted, and he's not a true Republican. He's not a true conservative. He's totally self-centered. I never saw such outrage and anger on the floor as I saw Ted Cruz tonight, and he deserved every bit of it.
But this morning, Senator Cruz was unapologetic, explaining to Texas delegates why he'd not honoured his pledge to the party that he'd support the nominee.
And that pledge was not a blanket commitment that if you go and slander and attack Heidi, that I'm going to nonetheless come like a servile puppy dog and say thank you very much for maligning my wife and maligning my father.
Senator Ted Cruz there, ending that report by Kylie Morris. Joining us now is the former New York Mayor, Rudy Giuliani, who's declared that Donald Trump will do for America what he, the mayor, did for New York. That's quite a push. And I'm wondering whether calling people names, I mean, and particularly discussing their father as being involved in the assassination of JFK and telling him his wife is ugly, that's hardly clever for somebody who expects to be president of the United States.
Well, you have to understand it was a very bitter primary, and Ted Cruz did very similar things. For example, Ted Cruz put out phony leaflets saying Ben Carson had dropped out of the race, picked up 3 points and won Iowa. And Ben Carson is outraged by Ted Cruz's unethical behavior. Ted Cruz said terrible things about Marco Rubio, about Trump. So,
but is this the way to win a general election then in America? Will he be as crude on the stump against Hillary?
You know, Hillary and Obama had a bitter primary in which the Obama people accused Bill Clinton of being a racist, and somehow they all got over it. So I'm not going to tell you it's right. I'm not going to tell you it's the best way to do it, but unfortunately, for the last 8 years or so, our politics has been like this.
But is America the leader of the free world? And if so, is this the way to lead the free world?
Yes, America is the leader of the free world, but President Obama has made us much weaker. We're much less the leader of the free world than we were when this president, who backed down 12 times to Assad, who has allowed Putin to push him all over the world and made this absolutely idiotic agreement with the Ayatollah. We used to be the leader of the free world. I don't know if we're not the followers any longer.
Well, but if you wish to be the leader of the free world, surely going about by saying you will not sign up to the NATO Charter, which says that any attack on one is an attack on all because you don't believe they've paid their way, is hardly leading the free world.
Well, maybe it is. Maybe it's the way to get everybody to put their fair share in. You know, you're dealing with a man who's a ultimate negotiator. That the position Donald Trump takes at the beginning is not the one he's going to end up with. And I think Americans feel that there hasn't been a sufficient contribution to NATO by the other members.
Right.
And I think for Trump to push him a little, to contribute more. I mean, there were situations during the Iraq War where only Americans and soldiers from the UK, Canada, and Australia were in combat, and the rest of them were just standing there watching.
Well, let me get to something else he said, and that was talking about banning Muslims, perhaps temporarily, but banning them temporarily. Now, he asked you to help out with a commission to try and sort out what that would amount to. But that is hardly going to bind this country together. I mean, can Muslims be banned temporarily from this country? Well, should they be?
Well, here's what we recommended to him. We recommended to him that you can't ban all Muslims.
Although he'd said he would.
Well, I think he said it because at the time, if you recall, there were many Syrians coming into Europe. ISIS announced that they were going to place terrorists with the Syrians and commit acts of terror in Western Europe and America. And he said that we should temporarily stop it until we could vet them better. So what we did was we explained to him in a memo and in discussions that you can't do that. You would need legislation, and you're probably not going to get it to do it. But what you can do is you can set up a much more effective vetting process.
Sure. Well, that's a quite different thing from saying you're going to ban them. And it's incendiary to say you're going to ban them. It's this sort of nastiness. I mean, even your own speech was not like the old Giuliani we used to know, the man who bound the people of New York together in the aftermath of 9/11. This has been a deeply divisive convention, talking about Muslims in ways.
The man you saw there is the man who cut crime in New York by 65%.
Yeah, but you didn't do it by banning Muslims.
No, I didn't do it by banning Muslims, but I did it by putting undercover agents in the mosques in New York.
But you see, the misgivings across the world about Mr. Trump are that he would do these wild things. He would do what he says. And after all, if people run for office and say these things, you expect them probably to deliver them. We can laugh.
I'm laughing because I know Donald Trump, and he says things because he's able to get all of you to get all excited and cover him. And he says them because he wants to take the strongest negotiating position he can take. And then the Donald Trump that ends up making the decision is an exceedingly rational, reasonable, and extraordinarily good negotiator. He never would have made...
It's a great story, but is it true?
It is true. He would never have made the agreement with the Ayatollah. He never would have reset the relationship with Russia. How stupid was that? Hillary Clinton reset the relationship with Russia, gave up the nuclear defense of Poland and the Czech Republic, and Putin has been pushing us around the world since
then. Well, Mr. Mayor, if you'll forgive me saying, it's a terrifying proof, but the proof's going to be in the eating of the pudding. And if the pudding is as you suggest, it'll be edible, but if it's as he suggests on the stump, it might be rather indigestible.
You know, this used to be what they said about Ronald Reagan. And I worked for Ronald Reagan, and he was the best president of the second half of the 20th century.
Well, on that positive note, thank you very much indeed, Mayor Giuliani. Away from the convention here in Cleveland, we have to report that footage has emerged from Florida showing an unarmed black care worker being shot in the leg by police in Miami in broad daylight. Charles Kinsey was trying to coax a young autistic man out of the middle of the road. You can see him here with his hands up, asking police not to shoot, and at the same time trying to calm the man sitting down in front of him. Seconds later, he's shot from just 30 feet away by a Miami police officer. Kinsey's in hospital tonight, recovering from a gunshot wound to the leg, while the policeman who shot him has been put on administrative leave. Well, now, here in Cleveland, Ohio, it is the final day of the Republican convention, supposed to be Donald Trump's triumphant coronation as the presidential nominee. In the last hour, he's been practicing on the stage behind me here, ahead of the speech, the culmination of this week, which has been marked by open warfare in the party. Our Washington correspondent, Kylie Morris, is with me here in the arena. A lot of Republicans not here at all, and a split between those that are.
And I think the one thing they are unified about is how much they loathe Hillary Clinton, not how much they love Donald Trump, which is a real problem for him. We got away from the convention and went out to Akron, Ohio, and did that all-American thing. We went to a baseball game and asked people there what they thought about Trump's character.
So much more he could do, treating people better, and he's not doing that.
Yeah.
I very much dislike many of the things that come out of his mouth. Can't respect someone like that.
Maybe he could bring it a little more smoother, some of his opinions with a little more grace, but I do believe, you know, overall his heart is in the right place for the country.
Yes, so the question really is whether or not with this speech tonight he can do what the convention hasn't achieved so far and really unify people behind him.
Great stuff. Well, I've been blogging on this. You can see it on the Snow blog on our website. We're back at 7 o'clock tomorrow. We've been out, well, interesting, we've a little bit more time than we normally have, so the channel have been very kind to us and let us carry on. The real battle here, therefore, is actually out in the country whether people want a sort of TV celebrity who has no baggage in terms of politics, but whether they hate Mrs. Clinton more.
I think it's a question of a character gap. I mean, surely you expect something different of a reality TV host than you do of a president. And it's just whether or not people are willing, enough people are willing to change their idea of who that person should be, the kind of person that should be.
And we'll know that answer in November, but next week the Democrat convention in Philadelphia. You'll be there. That's all till tomorrow night. Until then, from Jackie in London, from us here in Cleveland, that's Channel 4 News. Have a great evening.